Hi, everybody, and welcome to Midwest Racing Central today. I'm Pete Pistone. You can't believe it, but it's Memorial Day weekend, and that means a lot of racing around the Midwest. And let's bring in this week's guest, a guy who's been part of the Midwest racing scene for a lot of years. Dean Strom is with us here on Midwest Racing Central today. Dean, how you doing?
I'm good, Pete. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you. I got to be honest with you. I get to see you when you're, working at Slinger because I watch it here on Flow Racing, so I see you there. So you're a busy guy. Well, let's just start there. What are you involved with this year? Where are our viewers and listeners going to see you this year?
Let's back up one sec. And I was trying to think, getting ready for this, I was trying to think where our paths first crossed.
Okay.
And I think it was the Rockford, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm getting a little older. The memory ain't what it used to be. I think it was Rockford Speedway National Short Track Championships 2000
Wow.
when Pete Pistone was our that race was on TV.
Yeah.
It was tape delayed. I think it was Speed Channel or Speed Vision, whatever they called it back then.
Hmm.
And so it was tape delayed, and there was two people that were on site live. It was the cameraman, and it was you.
Yeah.
And I was the series media coordinator.
Hmm.
So I was charged with giving you all the stuff to make you look good.
And you did a good job because I remember that. And did Alan Bestwick, wasn't he like back in the studio in
Alan
Charlotte? Right?
Bestwick, and
Yeah.
I had to look it up. Yeah, you can Google it, boys and girls, and see a young Pete Pistone. But yeah, it was Alan Bestwick and Michael Waltrip were in the studio, so it was tape delayed, so they were voicing it over. But you were the on-site live guy
I do
doing your
remember that.
stand-up right there on the front straightaway of the Rockford Speedway during pace laps.
Oh man, the memories of all of that in Rockford Speedway. All right, well, so it's been almost okay. You brought it up, a quarter of a century that you and I have been
No.
around this at least. So in 2026, I mentioned I see you on Slinger on Flow Racing. What else is Dean going to be up to this year?
Well, yeah, I'm one of the voices at the Slinger Super Speedway on Sunday nights. And that partnership with Flo has really opened up a whole bunch of eyes to the Slinger Speedway. So that's a lot of fun. I'm helping Jim Trado out on his podcast, Racing Roundup Show, from time to time. And I am one of the voices for Track TV for the ASA Midwest Tour. I don't know if Track and Flow know that I play both sides of that fence, but we won't tell anybody. So yeah, so that's just a whole lot of fun. We've been doing that since 2021 on Track TV, covering the ASA Midwest Tour, and it's just such a fun series that I really enjoy that. And that's where I'll be at Slinger on Sunday, this coming Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, and I'll be on Saturday night of Memorial Day weekend. I'll be at Jefferson Speedway covering the ASA Midwest Tour.
We'll look forward to it. As I said, it's hard for me to believe that we're already at Memorial Day weekend. So we've had some weekly stuff happening. We've had some tours. The Midwest tour has been out there, a couple of races already. What's sort of your general takeaway, Dean, of what you've seen in 2026?
Well, from the pavement super late model world, when yellow 91 shows up, as Dennis Prunty said on the stage at Slinger last Sunday, there ought to be a prize for the guy who finishes second when the 91 is there, because we're racing for second. Ty Majeski is, of course, the yellow 91 that I speak of. He is so good, and that team is so on top of their game. And they've been working together for 10 plus years, and they're so good. And we're going to get to see Ty Majeski here in the Midwest at short tracks, more so this year than in years past with his Menards sponsorship. Turns out Menards likes to see their car race in the Midwest on short tracks. So yeah, we're going to see him. And that he's just, like I say, he's just so good and so dominant. Austin Nason got the better of him at Madison for the Joe Shear Classic. But yeah, that team is really on top of their game. Other takeaways, you mentioned it. It's coming up on Memorial Day weekend. We haven't seen the weather like we would like to see to really get the fans out to the racetrack. So that, I think, is unfortunately been a storyline so far this season. But the other storyline that I think we're seeing is just so much young talent, so much really good young talent. Penn Sauter, 16 years old, Johnny and Courtney's boy, third generation Sauter, finished fourth at the Joe Shear Classic and was disappointed because he led a bunch of laps. It was his best career finish in the Midwest Tour. It is only his second season of super late models, He finished fourth, and he was disappointed. So I think that kind of shows where the expectations and the bar is set for that young man. Ty Fredrickson, 17 years of age, out of Minnesota. Dan Fredrickson's boy. Dan, of course, the former series champion of the Midwest Tour. Um, he won. Ty won twice last year on the tour. Kawicki Driver Development national champion. So I mean the young talent. We're going to see at Jefferson on Saturday night. We're going to see a youngster by the name of Jaden Johnson. He's under the no relation. He's under the tutelage of Casey Johnson, and he won the track championship last year in the late model division at Slinger. And he's getting out and stretching his legs a little bit now. So it just never ceases to amaze me the young talent that comes through this sport and through the Midwest, really.
Well, what I like about what you said about all those guys, the different racetracks they've been able to race at. I know we're talking about kind of a shrinking world of super late model racing because things are so expensive. I get it. But there are obviously, Dean, as you laid out, places and series that those guys can race. Madison, Grundy's doing stuff down here. Slinger's got the Triple Crown. Jefferson with the Midwest Tour this weekend. I feel like even though it's not like the old days where you could race Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there still are an opportunity, I think, for some of these young drivers and veterans as well to race super late models here in the Midwest.
Yeah, and let's not forget about Dells Raceway Park.
Yes.
They run their Alive for Five series for the super late models. Wisconsin International Raceway, a little north of here, but still in the upper Midwest. And Kaukauna, they opened their season this past Saturday, and Ty Fredrickson actually won the Tundra Super Late Model race. Yeah, so there is opportunities for those guys to get out and run and learn and get experience at a bunch of different tracks. I mean, when you think about the diversity of the tracks here in the upper Midwest, probably more so than any other region of the country. The Kaukauna, that unique track, Dells, Slinger, Grundy County, it's just so many unique features of these racetracks here in the upper Midwest. And they're all kind of worn because, as we know, the winters can be a little harsh on them. And it just really, yeah, that's probably, a great point by you, Pete. That's probably one of the reasons why we see so many good young drivers come out of the upper Midwest.
I think so. So the other part of what you mentioned, we're talking super late model, but you mentioned kind of the pro late model, sort of the next division that's sort of
Yeah.
coming along. And I know a lot of our viewers and listeners get a little confused, when you say I'm running a super late model up here, what that means versus when you go down south. I'm running a pro late model versus a big eight lot late model. Dean, it gets a little bit convoluted, I think. But I feel like the big eight kind of slash pro late model divisions are starting getting a little traction these days. What do you think about that plan?
They are, and Slinger this season confused matters even more when they put the pro late models on a 10-inch tire because they were on an 8-inch tire, like the Big Eight series is on an 8-inch tire. Yeah, it is confusing. I feel for the fans because on the surface, when you look at the tracks or the cars, I should say, a super late model, a pro late model, you look at them on the track, you're like a novice would say, "What's the difference? Why is this car 0.8 of a second slower than this other car?" Yeah, it's a little confusing, but the Big Eight series is got such good history, and it has produced some great race car drivers on that small 8-inch, narrow 8-inch tire. And Grundy's kind of going that way as well, running more and more shows with that pro late model style. I think there's some confusion though between a pro late model in the South and a pro late model here up in the upper Midwest. And, the pro late model in the Southeast part of the country is on a 10-inch tire, and I think it's exactly like a super late model except for what's under the hood. A little more differences here in the upper Midwest as far as what we call the pro late model, but it really still it is a great launching pad. It's still economical by racing standards, and it's a great launching pad for the super late models.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Big Eight series. They're at Madison on Friday night. So we got a pretty
Mhm.
big weekend here in the Midwest between that. And you mentioned the ASA Midwest Tour on Saturday at Jefferson. Got the Trickle 99 at Golden Sands on Monday for super late model. So again, Memorial Day weekend's got a lot going on. So you're involved at Slinger. We had Travis Dassow with us a few weeks ago about the weekly program. Dean, I want to ask you about that. I mean, there are some tracks that have almost gotten away from a weekly show. They're just doing more specials. But it seems like Slinger is one of those that does put together. It's different on every Sunday night there. It feels like, but the weekly show seems to be pretty important at a place like Slinger. Where do you see the weekly show going in short tracks around the
Well,
Midwest?
Pete, from a business model, just as a put your businessman hat on, running a racetrack is tough because there's really about 20 nights that you can open your business. Imagine having a coffee shop or a fast food restaurant where you can only open 20 days a year. So it's a challenge. It really, and I'm sure Travis told you that it's a challenge. Um, so at Slinger, they it's a very diverse schedule because they also learned that to run the super late models, the premier class every week was really wearing on those guys to get them out there every week. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for the super lates. But what they've done at Slinger is they put together a different schedule, a different divisions, I should say, pretty much every week. So it gives fans an opportunity to see something different, something new, maybe something they haven't seen in a while. So at Slinger, it's still the weekly racing is still really important, but it might feature the late models one week and it might feature the super late models the next week.
So you and I are kind of somewhat more focused on the pavement world, but I don't want to leave out the conversation with us with the dirt world because there's a lot of great dirt tracks, as you know, in our area of the country. Running weekly shows, lots of specials happening up there. Think about Wilmot or Plymouth up there near Road America. Why is it in your mind, Dean, when I go to a dirt track, I feel like the car count there is a lot healthier than what I see sometimes when I go to some pavement racetracks? What do you think there might be a reason for that?
Well, don't tell anybody, but I'm a dirt guy at heart. I was born and raised on the dirt. That's where my dad raced. So I was going to dirt tracks, 4 dirt tracks a week, 3, 4 a week when I was growing up. I love dirt track racing. It's just really in the last several years that I've kind of shifted more towards the pavement, but my heart is still in the dirt. And it's really perplexing because the dirt late model is not cheap. It's not cheap at all. And they seem to be racing for 10, 15, 20, $30,000, every weekend, which again, as a businessman, I scratch my head and I wonder how they can do it. But I had this conversation a few days ago with Brad Keith, who was a super late model racer at Slinger and on the pavement for a lot of years. And last year, he put the super late model, still has it, but put it in the back corner of the shop and went and bought a B mod, a sport mod that he races. It's an IMCA style modified that he races on the dirt wherever and whenever he wants. And he can go to Francis Crick 141. He can go to Shawano Speedway. He can go to Gravity Park. He can go to any number of places and run this car. And he just goes out and has fun, brings family along and just has fun. And yeah, we were talking about that just this past Sunday, Brad and I were, and it's really a head scratcher. I don't know why they have more cars on the dirt side than on the pavement side. I do know that it seems to ebb and flow over the years, even on the pavement side, like Wisconsin International Raceway. It wasn't too long ago that they had healthy car counts and other tracks were struggling. And now it seems to have kind of flipped. So I don't know. Maybe it's just as a society, we're more and more fickle these days. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Dirt track racing's fun. You got to put your hand over your beer when you're sitting in the stands. But it's still a lot of fun, I think.
It is. The commonality, though, between both those, I'll put my fan hat on, is when you go to a dirt track or go to a pavement track as a fan, you want to have a good time, right? You're going
Yeah.
out for entertainment.
Yep.
How do you think that is progressing here? Because again, there's some tracks that I've gone to, I won't name them, where I feel like, why am I still here at 11 o'clock at night? Especially if I have a family. There are others, and I use Rockford as my blueprint boy. 707, that bomb went off. We put the green flag out for the trophy dash, and we had everybody on their way by 10 o'clock. What do you think that is in terms of the fan experience at these short tracks, Dean?
I get frustrated with the dirt tracks, even though I'm a dirt fan.
Yeah.
I get frustrated. In fact, I watched a dirt race. I won't name which series, but I watched a dirt race on a streaming service just the other night. And yeah, they were open wheel cars, which have to be pushed. But I was going, come on already. Let's go. So as a fan, that gets a little frustrating, but maybe as I get older, maybe I have less patience. I don't know. Um, but I think the other thing with dirt tracks is, you can catch a really good race if track conditions are just right. Man, you can catch a really good race. You can go back the next week and it can be a dud. So yeah, I don't know. From the fan experience, um, I like both, obviously pavement and dirt. From the fan experience, I don't know. I guess you're gonna have your dirt snobs and you're gonna have your pavement snobs out there. And I like to think that I can go both ways.
I'm the same way. I love it. We have some dirt tracks around my area still. LaSalle's come back to life, and
Yeah.
Sycamore puts on a good weekly show. Kankakee, they were almost done and they were able to bring it back. So I'm with you. As long as the racing is good and the fans have a good time, I'm all for it.
Yeah. And
I
there's that Gravity Park in Chilton,
Yeah,
up by us. That's new. It's really, I mean, you don't see very many racetracks open up these days. Usually they're going the other way. So to see a LaSalle reopen and to see Gravity Park open up from new just a couple years ago, that's exciting. That's pretty cool.
that is good stuff. Well, I appreciate you giving us some time. It was really good to see you and catch up with you. We'll look forward to watching the things you're going to be doing. I'm sure I'm going to run into you this summer when we're out there and about up there in Wisconsin. We appreciate it, Dean.
Sounds good. I'll buy you a popcorn.
Sounds good. Even
All
though
right.
he's a Brewer fan, he's a good guy. That is Dean Strom with us here on Midwest Racing Central today. I'm Pete Pistone. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check it out, MidwestRacingCentral.com. We'll have everything covered this weekend from around the Midwest. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.